Amplified Unit, welcome to the Monday Night Raw review and reaction from Monday, April 1st, 2019. And while it may have been April Fool's Day, I assure you, it takes a village of fools to write that show that we saw put on last night. Oh, we're gonna jump into it. It's true. It's damn true. And I wish it wasn't. I do want to give a disclaimer though, guys, a warning. There is a bunch of roofers up high. Perhaps if you listen closely, you can hear them now. Moment of silence, please. Okay, that just sounded like fireworks. I don't know what that was, but trust me, take my word for it. There's roofers above, and they're doing a lot of work. It's a good gentleman in his team. His name is Miguel. He knocked on my door, and he said, Mr. BC, I know you're a busy man. If you have work to do, we can start on the other side. And I said, no, Mr. Miguel, you do your thing up there. He said, no, Mr. BC, we're going to be really loud. I said, Mr. Miguel, no matter how loud you are, you ain't gonna be louder than the Amplified Man. So, him and his team are gonna be up there doing their thing. I'm gonna be doing my thing. We might be going to war a little bit. But just I assure you guys that it's just roofers. I don't have any neighbors above me. I am the top level guy. I am the king of the castle. But it's just a bunch of people up on the roof. Nobody's trying to start shit with the Amplified Man, because I assure you, that's when I would set my coffee down and we'd be getting amplified on all of our fucking neighbors. As in, I'd be destroying motherfuckers. Just saying. But Miguel and his team, they're gonna make the place even more spectacular, and I don't want to wait. I'm even more amplified than him and his whole crew, so I think that my voice can overshadow their work. I'm hoping I am correct, but any clanging and banging you hear, guys, I do apologize, but the work does need to get done, especially as spring is now here. There's going to be a lot of rain, and the Amplified Man doesn't want to be watching Raw one day, and I'm getting fucking leaked on. What the fuck's happening? Oh, my roof's caving the fuck in, cause it wasn't fixed when it should have been. Anyway, I'm telling you guys my fucking problems. We all have one gigantic problem together that we have to attend to, that we have to address, and that's called Monday Night Raw. So I won't waste any more time with my issues. Let's get right into this big problem known as Raw. Go home show? Yeah, my fucking ass, it was a go home show. Well, that was it, my friends. That was your go-home Monday Night Raw to WrestleMania 35 this Sunday. Your 35th anniversary of WrestleMania. Your very last Monday Night Raw beforehand. Supposed to be one of the biggest Raws of the year, especially on your 35th anniversary of your biggest show of the year. And did it seem it to you? Did it feel it to you? Were you not entertained even more so than you are with the normal of Monday Night Raw? The answer to all of those questions is rhetorical. The answer is no. And do you know how I know the answer and how I can speak for all of us? It's because the norm for Raw is usually below average. What we saw last night was even below that standard. It was below mediocrity. It was below lackluster. It was below the lowest levels that Raw has ever produced, because the standards should have been set even higher for WrestleMania 35 around the corner. And they give us a main event like Baron Corbin versus Rey Mysterio. The guy is not even on Monday Night Raw, yet he's your main event for WrestleMania. The guy barely has a match at WrestleMania. A title match that was thrown together last minute with Samoa Joe, but he's on Monday Night Raw closing the show with another guy who nobody even wants to see on the show, in Baron Corbin. And Corbin will be taking on a guy who literally could not wrestle a fast-paced match if it was against Goliath the Sea Turtle in Kurt Angle. And then they wonder why when Kurt Angle attacked Baron Corbin at the end of that match, and he had the ankle lock on, and I think in Vince's head, the crowd would be going hysterical, and it fucking just ballistic that Kurt Angle has the upper hand on Baron Corbin, but Vince didn't think about this one little thing. Nobody gives a shit. Kurt Angle and Baron Corbin at WrestleMania or at the local Denny's down the street. Nobody cares about seeing that match, that fight, that brawl, whatever it's supposed to be. That senior citizen discount fucking bonanza at the buffet. Nobody gives a fuck about seeing Kurt Angle and Baron Corbin. So when he has the ankle lock on, and they have to fade to black because USA Network is booting him off the air, and the crowd is not making any noise, it's crickets. Kevin Dunn finally had to just smash the fucking music, and Kurt Angle's music starts playing. The crowd is confused. That can't be the end of Raw. This is WrestleMania season. This is the go-home show. The crowd is expecting something fucking beyond entertaining, something fucking wild to happen. Like we all are at home. There's no way this is ending with Baron Corbin and Kurt Angle. There's not a way that's not possible. But it's Vince, and it's the E, and it was more than possible. We faded to black with Baron Corbin and Rey Mysterio and Kurt Angle. And that was your go-home Monday Night Raw. Fuck all of us at that point. And you think they're saving what is supposed to be your A show. And I always say that, and I always get a cute response. That's supposed to be the A show. And then I always get this. BC, that's not the A show. SmackDown's the A show, man. Screw Raw. If SmackDown is the A show, then we still have a huge fucking issue. Because that's not an A show either. Oh, and then I get another cute response. BC, NXT's the A show, BC. NXT's where it's at. Have you done lost your fucking mind? Whether you love NXT or not, which we all do, it's stuck in the middle of a Wednesday night on the WWE Network. That's not an A show. Shut the fuck up. In this unit, we need actual results. We need to speak common sense. We don't have cute little lines like, NXT's the A show. SmackDown's the A show. No, it's Raw, because that's how it's positioned. It's 3 fucking hours. And I don't care if SmackDown goes to 10 hours when it moves to Fox. Unless it's treated and positioned as such. In other words, it has the top stars, which Fox does want. It has enough hours to at least match Raw, 3 hours, which they are at least talking about. And if they have all of the storylines in place that make it the A show, that's where the biggest issue is here between Raw, SmackDown, NXT, fucking Impact, fucking... I can't even. Honestly, I don't even want to fucking... I don't want to make cute remarks. I don't want to just be funny. I want you guys to see how tragic this honestly was. Aside from one thing that was fucking... It was awkward. It was funny. But it was damn entertaining in some weird way, I want to say. But it ain't so weird when you really think about what pro wrestling is. Should I just start with that, guys? Because it's only one positive from this. I don't even want to call it a positive. It was one fucking highly entertaining segment. Highly fucking entertaining. And once I get that out of the way, then I could just run through real quick the tragedy that was fucking Raw. So before I go ballistic, why don't I talk about that one good thing, man? And it's the women. It's Ronda Rousey, it's Becky Lynch, it's Charlotte Flair. And at first glance, you're thinking, what the fuck? They're thrown together in a tag team. This is going to be an abomination of what this should have been. Your go-home show, and they're just going to be having friendly competition with one another, seeing if they can beat the Riot Squad. And then after the match, maybe they'll throw some punches and kicks at each other, and referees will break it up. Maybe they'll swing some referees around. That's the most I was expecting out of this, because that's the standard in the bar that I have set for Vince McMahon in the WWE. You can't blame me. But instead, we did get a quick match. The second Ronda Rousey was tagged in, I believe she got Liv Morgan in the armbar, and that was the match. Immediate tap out, and immediately when Ronda Rousey won this match, she immediately, guys, started just attacking Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch. The brawl was on. Now, this is what we expected, and then we expected the referees to break it up and get flung around. That's what happened. We probably even thought security to come in. The next layer, right? First it's the referees, then it's security. Well, that happened. Security then came in. Security even got flung around. Then we saw the police, right? It was the rookie squad. All of these guys and gals look like they just came out of the academy an hour before. They all looked 18, maybe 19 years old tops. A couple of them looked 13. Check their IDs. Because I don't know if they're the ones that I trust saving my life in any situation. But they look fresh out of the academy, but if you give me a second, in a second I should say, I'll tell you why that actually helped the storyline. But all these rookie cops come out, right? They got their little guns in their holsters. They got their little CBs, right? Do you call them CBs? What the fuck are they? Yeah, I guess you would call them CBs. I don't fucking know. I don't use them. They got their little flashlights, right? I mean, the props department spared no expense when it comes to these fake cops. Now they're trying to separate these three ladies from brawling. They're even getting flung around. And I'm thinking here, you gotta be careful with the realistic approach here. You can't just be beating the shit out of cops. Charlotte Flair took it a little too extreme. She actually started like throwing punches at the cops and shit. That's a little bit much. I love what Ronda and Becky did though. And to set that up, let me just say that they were all getting arrested, right? I can believe this because it's like Vince, Stephanie, and Triple H said, I don't want to ruin my main event. If they get too physical, just arrest them. Put them in cuffs. So I can believe that. They all were put in cuffs. And then I love this. You actually see Ronda Rousey trying to swipe the cop's legs with one of her, because she's cuffed. All she has is her legs, but she's highly trained, MMA style. So she's trying to literally swipe the legs from underneath these rookie cops. Charlotte Flair is over there trying to stomp their feet while she's cuffed. And Becky Lynch is just over there. This is an actual quote. Becky Lynch goes, "Aw, man, again?" I loved it. Becky Lynch is like, damn, again? In other words, like, here I am. I'm getting arrested again, man. Who doesn't love a female that can spew those words, right? Right? She calls you up from fucking honey, I'm in again, man. Come bail me out. Oh, babe, I love you. Man, again? You know, like that hardcore chick that's always at the bar on Friday night and she's always causing that trouble. That's Becky Lynch. I loved it. So Charlotte's trying to stomp their feet to get out of the cuffs. Ronda Rousey's trying to swipe the legs from underneath them. And Becky Lynch is just like, here we go again. Typical Friday night, but on a Monday. I loved it. And then they took it a step farther. And I left on my Twitter at BC Amplified. I left on the Twitter and I said, on the old Twitter machine, as John Cena would call it. And the best way I could describe it was this. That it was probably the most awkward thing I've seen in pro wrestling in a long time. But as ludicrous as it was, I was highly entertained. I literally put, I loved it. And you're thinking, BC, this is wild. What would you love? Well, it wasn't necessarily that part. It was what happened next. And trust me, it became even more ludicrous, which is why I loved it even more. They actually had the cop cars set up in the parking lot. They're bringing the ladies to their respective cars. There's not enough cars, evidently. So they stuff Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey in the same car. This is one of the best parts of the entire thing. They get in there, and I don't think at first they realize they're in the same car, Becky and Ronda. Charlotte's in another one. But the second that they get in there, they turn to each other because they realize, oh, hell no. I'm not sharing this car with you. So they immediately just start throwing kicks at each other's mugs, right at each other's heads. Ronda's swinging so viciously with her fucking legs, she busts out the cop car window, shatters that motherfucker. At one point, Ronda sticks her head out of the window. Charlotte Flair came in out of nowhere with a running fucking knee, that took Ronda Rousey's head off. I think they're still trying to find it somewhere, and probably, where were they, DC? They're probably trying to find it somewhere at the White House lawn right now. Or on Capitol Hill. Because Ronda Rousey's head, there's no way that could have been replaced to its proper owner. Because Ronda Rousey's dope piece was taken square off her shoulders. That is what you call getting it in. Laying it in. Charlotte Flair did the deed. Pro wrestling's fake, huh, Ronda? Let's see about that. Wabaka! Loved it, man. So much was going on. At one point during this brawl, Ronda Rousey, this was before that knee, I believe. So when Becky and Ronda were battling each other in the cop car, Charlotte Flair was able to somehow get to them, still cuffed. I know, this is out of the norm of believability, but that's pro wrestling. That's why we fucking love it. At one point, Ronda's able to escape. She gets into another car. She either tries to drive off, or maybe she was trying to run over Charlotte and Becky. Who knows? But you just see Ronda with that mean mug behind the cop car wheel, so you know she's not up to no good. She's not going to the local fucking Wendy's to get a number one. No, she's out to do some damage. She doesn't get far because her hands are fucking cuffed behind her back. So she literally just steps on the gas pedal and she goes right into another cop car. You can't make this shit up. Even though it was April Fool's Day, there was no fooling here. This was the actual segment. This actually happened. I know a lot of you guys always say, BC, I don't watch the actual shows. I just watch your reviews. Well, thank you for giving the Amplified Man the time of day, but you really gotta watch that segment because it's so ludicrous, you need to watch it. It's so ludicrous, it's highly entertaining. And for anybody this morning that wants to dissect every little fault and folly and everything that wouldn't be realistic in the real world, that wasn't realistic just because, I got you. I understand. But you don't play that card with professional wrestling sometimes. That segment we saw last night, that's what I love about pro wrestling. If you're gonna call out all the faults and follies and all the non-reality in that segment, then you're gonna have to do the same thing with Stone Cold Steve Austin and Booker T in a supermarket. They brawled for over 5 minutes in a supermarket. Not one cop, not one security, not anyone tried to break that up in a public supermarket. Nobody said a word about that. Stone Cold entered the arena to ringside in a beer truck one night and had a beer bath. Not one cop had a problem with that. They just let the whole 10-minute segment go as planned. Stone Cold beat the shit out of Vince McMahon in a hospital room for 5 minutes. Not one person was outside that could hear that. Not one doctor, one nurse. No cop was called, no security. Vince McMahon just got his ass whooped in a hospital room. Lord forbid, if any one of you had an issue and you had to go to the hospital, the emergency room, hopefully you're not in that hospital because whatever bad happens to you, ain't nobody gonna hear it. Even before the Attitude Era, when Papa Shango was doing his voodoo on the Ultimate Warrior, remember when he cast a spell and Warrior backstage was throwing up non-stop? Or how about the time when Warrior was cutting a promo and all the black voodoo mist came down from his head? Of course that's out of the realm of realistic and believability, but we loved it as pro wrestling fans. My point is this, remember Big Boss Man? Big Show was driving away, the Big Show? Big Boss Man was driving away. He hitched up a chain to the Big Show's father's casket. This was actually at the fucking gravesite. Big Show is on the casket. You got the Big Boss Man driving away, and the Big Show is riding along on his father's casket. Or how about Mae Young wrestling, still wrestling at 165 years old? I can claim a bunch of shit is not realistic and not believable, but we let it go because it's what we love. That's what pro wrestling is. That's what the WWE surely is. So if you're going to call out any aspect of that segment, you're going to have to call out every awesome segment of back in the day, or most of them. Because you're not going to tell me that shit was totally realistic, totally believable. I understand we live in a new era in wrestling, and a lot of today's good wrestling today is seeing two glorified gymnasts flipping all over the place. I understand that. But we never, ever watched pro wrestling back in the day to see Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior do a moonsault or a Spanish fly. We never wanted to see Stone Cold and The Rock, or we never watched to see Stone Cold and The Rock do a 450 splash or 10 suicide dives. The Undertaker and Triple H, they weren't doing hurricanranas left and right and bouncing from pillar to post. That's not what we fell in love with pro wrestling, and especially the WWE for. It's not. We fell in love with the epic storytelling. The matches, most of them, all of them, were all psychological. They were mind fucks. Their mannerisms, their expressions, their selling. Most of it was slow paced though, but we loved it. So what changed? Our attention spans, first of all. We need to see fast pace. We need things quickly done and over with. That's probably why Vince feels he can't give us long-term storylines, but I don't buy that excuse, because even short-term storylines don't have any attention to detail, and I love detail. But it can be out of the realms of realistic because it's pro wrestling. Sometimes smart marks, like myself, right? We call ourselves smarks because we're the smart marks. We know the ins and outs of the business. But sometimes, guys, sometimes we have the ones that aren't so smart and they try to be such by overly critiquing something, by overly detailing something, overanalyzing something, and it doesn't need to be. What you saw last night, that is what you call fun. That is what you call entertaining. Bottom line, there's no other way to look at it. You can say, why were they in the same car together? Well, I can tell you right now, I've been arrested 17 times, that at least 4 of those times, I was placed in a car with somebody else. There's some times where there's just not enough cop cars. It's tough shit. Why was Ronda Rousey able to break the window? Why were they able to brawl? Why didn't the cops stop them? Well, that's where the good storytelling actually does take shape. Because those cops, again, look like they came fresh out of the academy. They all look like they were 12 years old. So it's believable that these superstars, Ronda, Charlotte, and Becky, can absolutely take control in that situation from these rookie, fresh out of the academy, copperoos. And you could say Stone Cold and Booker T, BC, at the supermarket was believable because we believed in Stone Cold's character, that that's what would actually happen. Well, these characters are the same, they just haven't been treated as such. What do I mean by that? Well, Ronda Rousey, her moniker is the baddest woman on the planet. She just wants to beat anybody up at any given time. So you believe that she's going to try to beat up cops too, or not give a shit about them. And you have Becky Lynch's character as the anti-authority type. Fuck authority. I've done everything I was supposed to and nobody gave me the time of day. Now I'm taking what I want. So you believe Becky Lynch, that this would be her scenario. And then you have Charlotte Flair, who thinks she can get away with anything she does because she's a Flair and she was born with a silver spoon. You put all of them together and it's a combustible element. So I would believe that. I believe that fully, that that's a type of situation that would happen. But of course we're not looking at it without saying, that wouldn't actually happen in real life. But that's not how you would watch a television show, and pro wrestling is no different. You watch The Simpsons and you say that wouldn't happen in real life. You watch The Walking Dead and you say that wouldn't happen in real life. Or Stranger Things. What the fuck are you watching that you're saying that wouldn't happen in real life? I'm telling you guys right now. I got by the way, I got roofers up on the top of the fucking roof right now, clanging and banging. They're up early at 7 a.m., smashing shit around. So that's what you're hearing. That's not fucking God getting overjoyous of my review for Raw, although God may be loving my review. That's not The Undertaker ascending from the heavens, trying to make it in time for WrestleMania. That's just some fucking roofers that want to cause some shit at 7 a.m. Hey, I'm down with that. That's what the Amplified Man does. But as far as this, I loved it. Every single fucking aspect of it. It was ludicrous, it was wild, it was awkward at times, and it's everything that I would remember 10 years from now. So I remember when I was that 12-year-old kid and crazy shit was happening that I still remember to this day. I remember when I was that 17-year-old kid, crazy shit happened, and I still remember to this day. When I was that 21-year-old kid, I still remember to this day some of that shit that was wild, electric, amazingly ludicrous, but amazingly entertaining. I loved that segment last night. The only thing that could have made it better, and they should have done it because they did this at like the 10 o'clock hour, so they had time left. The only thing they should have done was keep a camera with them at the police station. How cool would it have been if they were all in a cell together, or even in different cells, and they're talking shit? But the camera is on them. It's a new aspect. It's a different twist. It gets us a little bit more looking forward to it. I will say this in conclusion to that segment, guys. That actually gets me a little bit more entertained at the fact of this triple threat for WrestleMania. I'm still against it. I still don't feel Charlotte should be in this match, but that gets me a little bit warmed up to the idea at least. Maybe I won't be leaving MetLife during the last match and be on the subway back to Manhattan. Maybe. We'll see. Do they do something cool tonight on SmackDown? I don't know. WWE released a statement saying they all have been released from jail and they are pending a future court date. I think WWE had to say they're out of jail because Charlotte Flair accidentally tweeted 35 minutes after that segment. No shit. Charlotte Flair just literally tweeted out some shit. You talk about totally blowing up your spot in your own segment? Yep. Thanks a lot, Charlotte. But because they're now out of jail, maybe they can do something cool tonight on SmackDown. We shall see. But I absolutely love that, guys. And now, that's the best thing I can talk about last night. If you guys haven't seen that segment, go back and check it out. It was fucking ludicrous. It was wild. It was highly entertaining, I assure you. But, unfortunately, we got to talk about the rest of the fucking show. And that, my friends, was not entertaining. That was the opposite. That was fucking tragic. So I guess we would start off with the main event, which again was Corbin and Mysterio. I kind of went over it. I don't know what else I could talk about. You got a guy from SmackDown that was originally marketed and promoted to take on Kurt Angle. That match didn't make sense anyway. Why? Because you're rekindling something that happened maybe 15 years ago? We don't need to see that again right before WrestleMania, so it was weird. And Rey Mysterio was on SmackDown, so it's even more awkward and odd. But we just said, okay, fine, that's what they want to promote. And then Kurt Angle comes to the ring, Baron Corbin comes down, they have a little bit of a promo battle, I guess. Nobody cares, so was it really even a battle? And then Mysterio comes down, they both take out Baron Corbin, and then Angle and Mysterio hug each other, and then we cut to a commercial break. Or it's a WrestleMania promo package for some match and then a commercial break, and then when we come back, there's no Angle and Mysterio. When we came back from commercial, they announced Rey Mysterio versus Baron Corbin later in the night. Can't make this shit up. And they don't even bother explaining themselves anymore. It's one thing that this company is just doing the weirdest things out of the blue last second, and Vince is just changing his mind and doing this weird shit. But it's another thing that they won't even give us the courtesy to explain themselves. Make it a story. Give us a reason. Guys, they won't even give us the time of day on that. Don't you find an issue with that? They just announced Kevin Owens is going to be in a main event championship match a couple months ago. What was that, Fastlane? And then they announced Charlotte Flair is just going to be added to the Ronda and Becky match out of nowhere. She's a SmackDown star, but she's just gonna arrive on Raw and go for that championship. No story being told, no nothing. Charlotte Flair wins the SmackDown Women's Championship out of the blue in the middle of a SmackDown impromptu match. Nobody knows why. No story was told beforehand. No excuse was given to us. No reasoning. Add this to the list. Mysterio just shows up to Raw. We thought was supposed to be against Kurt. That match doesn't even take place. Instead, somehow it's Baron Corbin versus Mysterio. And for some reason, that's our main event on Raw. Days before WrestleMania. And it was a fucking pathetic match. I'm not even trying to throw shade at Corbin. I actually don't even mind Corbin. I think he's a decent fucking heel. Obviously, we don't mind seeing Rey Mysterio from time to time, but that's your main event on Raw. That's the match they put on, and it all ended when Baron Corbin went up the rampway and Kurt Angle cut him off. Kurt Angle gets him in a fucking ankle lock. The crowd doesn't give a fuck because we're all just waiting for... We see the time. We see that it's 11 o'clock, and we see that Corbin, Angle, and Mysterio are the characters in play. That's not exciting. That's not fun. That's not entertaining. We're thinking there better be a 5 or even 10-minute overlap. There has to be another segment, surely. Nope. That was it. Crickets. Go back and listen to the crowd, guys, when Angle has that ankle lock. Nobody gave a fuck. It was so silent in there. Dunn had to play the music because they were going off the air in any second. So either Vince was in Dunn's ear or Dunn just told Vince, I got to play the music. I can't wait for a reaction. And Vince, they had to know at that point there wasn't going to be a reaction. They just started playing Kurt Angle's music. Even the commentators were caught off guard like, oh fuck, we fucked up. This shit is not fun. That is not a good way to end Raw. You could tell everyone knew it did not go off well at all. And I have no sympathy. I don't feel bad for this company at all for what happened last night when Raw went up the air. They deserve that. That's how you fucking planned your Monday Night Raw? You promote a match that didn't make sense to begin with, and then you don't even deliver on it, and then you make an even worse match. Kurt Angle and Mysterio was at least something I'll actually view. Baron Corbin and Rey Mysterio, that's a bathroom break. Even if you don't smoke cigarettes, you go and buy a pack and you chain smoke during that match. If you're a vegan and you don't eat burgers, you're going to start cooking hamburgers during that match. You're going to do anything in the world underneath the sun other than have to watch that match. But because it was the last match, and maybe that was their plan, they forced us to watch it, right? It's the last match. Something epic has to happen. It's your go-home show to WrestleMania. Something epic is going to happen. He's not going to end it with Corbin, Mysterio, and Angle. Fucking A! That's what he did. Drew McIntyre attacks Roman Reigns backstage in a two-minute segment. Roman Reigns is cutting a promo, and Drew McIntyre attacks him, and that's their setup. We have to see Roman and Drew now, because for the last few weeks, Drew McIntyre beat up Roman. That tells me that Vince is going to protect Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, and it looks like Roman's going to get the victory over Drew. That's great for Roman. That's great for Joe. But what about Drew, man? This is his first big match. I think he needs this victory. I think the match will be okay. I just wish the storyline was given much more attention to detail, a much more focal point of the show. But here's the thing, guys. I think Vince McMahon is trying to protect Roman. The last few weeks, he has not had him show up in front of the live crowds. It's almost like he wants to preserve that reaction that he got when he came back. And it was electric, and people were happy to see Roman. But Vince knows that after a while, that reaction's going to wear slim. And it's going to wear thin and slim. And it's going to go away, slowly but surely, or maybe fastly. And Vince knows that. So that's why a couple weeks ago, he kept Roman off to sell the injury from Drew from 3 weeks ago. And then last night, he just had him in a backstage 2-minute promo. So Vince is really protecting Roman, and it looks like Roman is gearing up for another dynamite push in the future. Whether you like it or not, watch out. The Roman train is coming. And when it comes, Vince is going to stop at nothing to make sure that this train stays on the tracks. I just don't see how it's going to happen, man. I see the same type of reaction about to happen for Roman, you know. We're all happy to see him back, but if it starts getting weird again, like the whole Charlotte Flair thing or Roman Reigns' first run, people are not going to accept this. I'm assuring you, man. But that was the whole Drew Roman backstage shit. You want to go to Seth Rollins and Brock Lesnar? They started the show off, and you thought, right? First, let me tell you what happened. Seth Rollins interrupted Paul Heyman, another one of Paul Heyman's promos. Brock Lesnar is in the ring. Seth comes down. Seth gave a pretty believable promo to Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar kept smirking and smiling after everything that Rollins said. But Rollins kept saying, yeah, keep smiling, keep smirking. I mean every word I say when I say I'm going to beat you Sunday. I liked it. It was believable, but I needed more, obviously. So what did they give us? They gave us a couple of low blows by Seth Rollins to take down the Beast in a curb stomp. Or I believe they just call it a stomp now. Gotta keep those advertisers happy. So the Beast gets stomped. This tells me Seth Rollins looks like he's going to lose Sunday at WrestleMania. It looks like Brock Lesnar's going to keep that title into the Saudi Arabia event at least. Same thing that happened at last year's Mania. Everyone thought Roman was going to win. Brock ends up winning, and then he goes on to Saudi Arabia. Well, in this case, everyone thought Seth was going to win. I wouldn't be too sure of that. This could be Brock Lesnar's victory because they made Lesnar look pretty weak last night. I don't care if you hit him low blow 10 times. He's a beast, and he's looking like a chump. And Seth Rollins is celebrating in the middle of the ring after his stomp. If Brock Lesnar is going to lose Sunday, then what the hell's the point of making him look weak on Raw too? Now he's no longer a beast, he's just a bitch. So I thought there was going to be something. That was the first segment of Raw. So I'm thinking Seth will be involved in something later in the night, and Brock is going to interfere in that match, and he's going to wreak havoc. Rollins is going to go through every table, and he might get flung, like I usually do with this pen at the end of every video, he might get flung into the fucking 25th row of Section 4. But no, Rollins wasn't involved in anything later in the night, and Brock never showed up again. So that's one of your main events, not the last match at Mania, but you can call that one part of the triple main event with Kofi, Daniel Bryan, and the Triple Threat Ladies match. And that didn't get me excited at all. In fact, if Rollins is going to win the match Sunday, I've already seen the payoff. I've already seen the Beast down, and I've already seen the stomp, and I've already seen Rollins celebrate. Another big match at Mania, that nothing that happened last night did anything for the match, and that's Batista and Triple H. Triple H was not even on the show. Batista shows up, gets in the middle of the ring, gets on the mic and says, "Hunter, kiss my ass." Drops the mic. Listen, I love seeing Batista. I don't care if he says one word or if he says 100 words. I don't care if he says, "I just signed a 10-year contract," or "I'm quitting." Just seeing him in the ring at that moment, it's Batista. We love Batista, or Blue Tista, or Bubba Batista, or whatever you want to fucking call this guy. I like seeing Batista in the WWE. I really feel like he had this weight that he was carrying around. He didn't like the way that he left WWE. He wanted to come back because he truly does love this business. He's a movie star now. He doesn't have to come back like The Rock. But they come back because they love this. Batista knew he didn't like the way he left and just being called a quitter. He loves this and he left because he wasn't happy with a lot of things. Who can blame him? So it was cool to see him last night. I just wish they had more. This show lacks substance from top to bottom aside from one segment. Oh, and who can forget about the Revival versus Ricochet and Aleister Black for the 5th time in 6 weeks? That's a true statistic. You don't gotta look it up. That's my job. That's why I create these videos. That's why I have a following, because I do the research. 5 times in the last 6 weeks, Black and Ricochet have taken on the Revival. And this is probably going to lead to another match at Mania somehow. Maybe a multi-person schmaz match like the female women tag team division is going to have at WrestleMania. Because last night's match ended in a countout. Ricochet and Aleister Black lost the match via countout. So now they might go to some authority figures. I don't even know who's in charge storyline-wise anymore. Is it Stephanie? Is it Vince? Is it Triple H? Is it Fit Finlay, right? Fit Finlay put Becky Lynch in the Royal Rumble match. Maybe it's fucking, what's his name? David Arquette maybe is calling the shots now. Maybe it's Hornswoggle. Maybe it's James Ellsworth. Who the hell knows who's calling the shots? But I'm sure Aleister Black and Ricochet will get another shot at some point. They're going for the NXT tag straps at TakeOver this Friday. Maybe they walk into Mania with the tag straps on NXT. Who knows? From NXT. We don't need to see it. And that's what we're expecting. We're expecting a multi-tag team schmaz match to be announced in the next couple of days for WrestleMania, for the Raw Tag Team Championships. And we're expecting the same thing for SmackDown. I was hoping just to see the Hardys versus the Usos at WrestleMania. That would be epic. Nope. Instead, it looks like everybody's going to be involved. Just like the females, guys. That's right. What was it? Last night, there was an 8-women tag match. The faces versus the heels. Sasha and Bayley tagging up with Natalya and Beth, taking on the Iconics. That's right, from SmackDown. Just showed up for no reason. just because they're in this WrestleMania match. But they're not part of Raw. There is no more brand split. It's laughable. It's a joke now. It's a sideshow. The Iconics tagging up with Nia and Tamina. An 8-women schmaz match. And at WrestleMania, it doesn't get any better. Because all 4 teams will be competing for the tag championships. So anybody that tries to tell me that unified championships with the women is a good thing, just look at the tag straps. That's what you're going to see of if the women ever get their titles unified, the singles championships, Raw and SmackDown. If they ever actually become unified, that's what you can expect. Every pay-per-view will be a triple threat or a fatal 4 or redundancy or nothing will make sense. Unifying the championships will do nothing. It'll just hurt the division even more because then it'll be even more lack of spotlight on individuals. They put together this tag team championship for Sasha and Bayley, and it's much of the same. This is the type of match that would have been at last year's Mania for Sasha and Bayley, or the year before. Nobody's looking forward to this. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Vince put the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship match, I wouldn't be surprised if Vince put that on the pre-show. Because he doesn't care about this shit, and that's obvious. Just give me Sasha and Bayley versus Beth and Natalya. That's a tag team match. Beth Phoenix going for the gold on a straight up 2 versus 2. I can speak. That's all we need to see. We don't need to see all of these schmaz matches just so you can fit as many wrestlers as you can on the card. And that's what I mean about WWE being overpopulated. There's too many superstars. And Triple H and Vince keep eating them all up around the world. They keep signing talents left and right. Pac-Man status. Like fucking Pac-Man. Everybody is getting signed, and where are they going? NXT is overcrowded. They go to the main roster, they're overcrowded. Luke Harper can't even get the time of day. Asuka can't get the time of day. Naomi can't get the time of day. Tyler Breeze has to complain, bitch, and moan, and he finally gets a backstage segment last night on Raw. The superstars they have now are not even being used or utilized correctly. What the fuck makes you think all of these new signees are going to get anything? The future looks dim when it comes to WWE, guys, because it looks just like schmaz match after schmaz match after schmaz match, and that's what WrestleMania is shaping up to be. What else happened last night? Riot Squad drew attacks Roman Reigns, Baron Corbin. Apollo Crews beat Jinder Mahal, and all of the Andre the Giant Battle Royal participants were around the ring. Why? Was this declared as a lumberjack match? Because I missed the memo. I didn't hear that. But even if it was, it still wouldn't make sense. But I didn't hear that the case. All of these superstars around the ring for zero reason. Just to see an Apollo Crews versus Jinder Mahal match. It was probably Vince realizing the crowd isn't going to give a fuck about that match. So let me send out my superstars. They'll be their audience. And in just 2 minutes, Apollo defeats Jinder Mahal. And then everybody gets in the ring and starts brawling. And everybody went to go take a piss or go get their popcorn or their beer during that brawl. Because that wasn't a brawl. That was a fucking joke. In fact, all of those superstars were cleared out of the ring just 2 minutes later. And it was just down to Apollo and Jinder again. And again, Apollo took care of Jinder Mahal. And Apollo poses with the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal Trophy. Did I even say that correctly? Who gives a fuck? That shit sucked. That was really far. That was good. That was the farthest I flung that shit. That was Monday Night Raw. I don't even care if anything else happened, which I don't think it did. That was everything. Brock Lesnar got stomped by Seth Rollins. Batista told Hunter to kiss his ass. Apollo beat Jinder Mahal. Revival took on Aleister and Ricochet for the 5th time in 6 weeks. Drew McIntyre jumped Roman Reigns backstage. Baron Corbin took on Rey Mysterio. Kurt Angle got Baron Corbin in an ankle lock. And that was your go-home show. You can complain and anger. He took a nosedive because he thought this show was that pathetic that he wanted to end it all. Anger, get up, you son of a bitch. That was your Raw last night. Guys, you can complain and bitch all you want about the women's segment with Ronda, Becky, and Charlotte, but guess what? That saved the entire show from being a complete wreck. At least that's something I'm going to remember. At least that was fun. At least I laughed at it at times. At least I looked at it like, what the fuck, this is ludicrous. But when it was all said and done, I was highly entertained. And I'll take more of that over anything else we saw last night. Because everything else on that April 1st, 2019 edition go-home show for WrestleMania of Raw was absolutely criminally tragic. And it seems like I say that every week. And nothing's getting better. I can't even count on WrestleMania season to bring up the morale, to bring up the way I look at Raw. I can't even look at WrestleMania season like that anymore. Because now WrestleMania season is just like any other week. It is business as usual. They're all on cruise control. They're all just going through the motions. And this show is absolutely lifeless. We'll go on to SmackDown tonight and we'll see. Like they always have to do. They're always put in a bad position. It's like a closer in baseball. The starting pitcher puts their team in such a hole, and the closer has to come in and try to keep it close, right? Or the setup guy. The closer usually comes in to save the fucking game, but usually that means because it's only being saved by 1 or 2 runs. So the setup guy and the closer always has to pick up the slack. Just like Raw last night. So much slack. Can SmackDown even pick up any of the slack? They have to put on their own fucking show for their own reasons. Fucking A, man. That's the go-home show. I wish I could have been more positive for you guys, but that ain't gonna happen. Maybe tomorrow morning when I review the SmackDown show, maybe I'll be more positive. I'm hoping we're all gonna tune in tonight and we're all gonna honestly hope for a damn good show. WrestleMania is days away, guys. We'll see what they produce. Always stay subscribed and notified. You never know when I'm gonna pump out an impromptu video, and if that happens, you'll be the first to know about it, and it's WrestleMania week. I have been pumping out a video every single day. You never know when I'm going to pump out 2 in one day. That could be actually today. So, get notified while you're staying amplified. The Ant-Man along with Mitch, Anger, hopefully he's still kicking down there. He took one hell of a nosedive when he realized how tragic this show was. Hopefully Anger is good to go, and if so, I'm sure he says the same sentiments that I'm going to give you. Check you later.